Welcome to the Candle Business Coach Podcast, a show about the craft of candle making and small business. I'm your host, Kirsty Allen, and I'm a candle maker, mum of three, and kindness advocator. Join me as I dive into all things candles and small business and deliver advice and tips to you in episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Are you on the list to get my daily motivation emails? Every day I'll send you a message that is designed to help keep you focused on taking action toward your goals. Sign up using the link in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by the membership for candle makers, the Candle Makers Collective. Becoming a member gives you access to fortnightly online group Q&A coaching sessions to support you, monthly online workshops and trainings to help you grow your business, plus frequent expert guest speakers to inspire and teach you. You'll also have access to an ever-growing resource library with templates, guides, planners, and ebooks. But my favorite aspect of the membership is our exclusive Facebook group for accountability, connection and support. So if you're looking to take your candle business to the next level and learn more about the membership for candle makers, click the link in the show notes for the Candle Makers Collective. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. Today we have the beautiful Maree on with us to chat to us about branding and all things storytelling when it comes to running your candle business and making an impact with your products. So, Maree, would you like to briefly tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a bit of a geek. I'm very creative. I have 2 kids and a cat, and I'm also a writer, and I like dark chocolate.
I love that. I love how you've thrown in the dark chocolate reference as well. Oh, yeah. Very specific, very important to include that. So you are involved with a company called Rawmarrow. Do you want to share a little bit about what your company is about and how it all got started?
Yeah. I guess I've been doing helping small businesses since 2008, which is a long time. And I kind of started that in 2020. I was doing it through another business. And in 2020 decided to go out on my own, mainly because I saw a need for small businesses to have a no-nonsense, straight-shooting, straight-talking agency. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of how it came about. I just want to help small businesses know who they are and then how to show themselves. That's our sort of tagline: know yourself, show yourself.
I love that. I love how it's so, as you say, straightforward, straight shooting, no BS, just get in there, get it done, and do it in alignment with your own values and morals rather than doing what the agency wants or going against what feels right for you and what's in alignment with your business.
Yeah, and a lot of small businesses I find feel intimidated by bigger agencies too.
That's a really good point. You see, the Instagram feeds and the websites that just look so polished and so perfect. And you wonder sometimes how your business could be helped by someone like that. If they've got this level of perfection or, if it's really polished, it can, as you say, it can be a little bit intimidating for small businesses.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know, what are some of the business foundations that candle makers should have in place if they're moving from hobby to business?
I think this is one of the biggest, like the transition from hobby to business is a big one, and it's often underestimated. Like a lot of people, like the fact that Auntie Carol loves your candles is one thing, but scaling it to a business is something else. Mm-hmm. So the first thing, I think there's 2 skills there. You need to be, obviously really good at making candles. So don't just make 5 candles, those 5 candles everyone loves and think, right, I'm going to go into business, because business skills is a completely separate skill set. So you need to make sure you have the right tools and the supplies, obviously, to scale from like transitioning from a hobby to a business. You've also kind of got to make sure that you, I guess, want to commit to it as a business and not just have as a hobby, because what I've seen is some people will have a great hobby, they love it and enjoy it, they go into business, they're excited, and then they don't like it anymore because of the business side of things. So a lot of small business owners think, okay, it doesn't matter, I'll just learn the business side of things as I go, which is a mistake in my view, because you'll just get overwhelmed and snuff your own wick before you even start. So you can outsource to do that. So before you start, I think you need to research first what's out there, work out your business name, your branding, and outsource those things that are outside your area of expertise. You need a business plan, even if it's just a one-page template, and you need to know your ideal client, your target market, before you open, not sort of as you're doing it.
Yes.
And one of the things I am really big on is ask yourself, why should your target customer buy your candles instead of from your competition? And the answer, mine are the best, because mine are the best. You should buy from me is not an answer.
True.
And the other thing is, you have to be creative and innovative, I guess, is what I'd say.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where if you sell a vanilla candle and you're at a market and there's 5 other candle stores and they will sell vanilla candles, you need to have something unique and something different about your particular product to entice your target market to purchase from you. And that could be your brand mission. It could be the storytelling that you play into it. Yeah, it's not just, but I've got a different color label and it's got some pretty font. It has to be something more substantial.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise you're going to end up trying to compete on price.
Yes, and it's not a race to the bottom, which we've said on this podcast many times.
Exactly.
You need to be very clear on who you're targeting with your ideal customer. You need to have a good understanding of what their pain points are, what their pleasure points are. You need to really delve into the avatar of who your ideal customer is.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that takes effort and thought, and it might mean that you have to journal what you think your ideal customer is, and then really work out who it is that you're wanting to focus on selling your products to. And it'll be different for every candle business depending on the type of candles that you make.
Exactly.
Are there any fundamental steps for business growth in your opinion?
Well, I am very big on strategy. So you have to have a strategy. You have to be able to track your progress and adjust where necessary. Another thing is investing in the right marketing and sales for your business, not just jumping on a bandwagon because everyone's suddenly, right, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. You've got to work out what's right with you, what aligns with your brand. Obviously, you have to provide excellent customer service. Mm-hmm. And I guess the other thing is you need to be willing to take risks, and you need to be patient. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It takes some time and effort, and also a willingness to take risks. So as long, don't be afraid to try new things, as long as it aligns with your brand, which you've worked out, of course, from the start.
From the start, that's right.
Yeah.
It can be so tempting to fall prey to the shiny objects that we see and the different trends that come up, because we think, this will get me to my goals faster. This will help me reach success faster. And what it does is it actually pulls you away from your genuine progress.
Exactly.
Rather than actually being in alignment with your brand and putting your blinders on, sticking to what you know is working for you, even if it's a slow trajectory, rather than I want my goals done yesterday. Like, it has to be
exactly.
It has to be the right progress for you and your business.
Yeah, and it's also like acknowledging your budget, acknowledging, prioritizing the things that you can start working on now, knowing there's other things, not trying to do everything at once.
Yeah, and then overwhelming yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And then pacifying yourself on social media because it all seems too hard.
Yeah.
And then not making any progress with your business. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Is branding important for a candle making business, especially when the market seems to be saturated?
I would say the more saturated the market is, the more important it is to have great branding. And there are a million trillion candle makers out there. So it is a saturated market. So again, I'd go back to what makes your candles different. Why should I buy them from you rather than your competitor down the road or wherever or online?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got to make sure that your materials, packaging, everything you use matches your brand. And the other thing is build a really strong online presence. And that includes having a well-designed website and active social media channels. Don't post one picture of a candle and then wait for 4 weeks and then come back and post another one.
Yes.
And you really, it sort of goes back to establishing your brand in the first place. But so you need to know what your core values are. What do you want your brand to actually represent? It should be something that's unique and memorable, because in particular for candle makers, what I see is everything looks the same. There's not many that stand out. There was one that stood out, and that was, and not my client, but this candle maker I actually followed, because what they were doing was different. Their feed was different. Their concept about candles was different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that.
the other thing is just making sure that your message is strong and your logo, your visual identity is consistent across all your branding materials. And you need to have what we call a clear brand message. So that is what you want your customers to know about your brand. And it's got to be something that's concise and easy to understand. And
people don't have a very long attention span these days, so you need to be able to hit the mark really quickly and be able to help your target market identify, oh, this is a product that I resonate with. This is something that I want to purchase.
And that sort of feeds into having being able to tell your brand story. What's the history of your business? What makes your candles unique? And it should be authentic, not just creating a brand story for the sake of having a brand story. It's got to be actually the real why of why you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. People want to feel connected to something bigger than themselves. And even though, yes, you're making candles and yes, you're a candle maker, if you can weave in the storytelling of who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, why this is important, what it means to you, not necessarily making it about you, but weaving in your story so the customer can resonate and get to know, like, and trust you. That's where you'll find the connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a good example of that I saw not long ago was a candle maker, actually, that her whole ethos was about recycling, reusing, etc. So her actual candles, when the candles finished, she promotes you can plant plants in it, for example.
Yeah.
So it's all part of her branding, and everything ties into that. Yeah. And the other thing, I guess, is, always having excellent customer service, because happy customers are likely to be an ambassador for your brand and give you good testimonials.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so that is important as well.
What would you say to the candle maker who doesn't want to invest in outsourcing, say, to make professional made labels, or outsourcing tasks that, as you say, are outside their wheelhouse, because they feel like they want to do it all themselves? Do you feel like that's, shooting themselves in the foot, or do you think that some people can make it on their own?
Some people can, some people can't. But I can tell you that learning, if it's part of your natural skill set, then yes, you can make it. If it's not, you will spend more time trying to perfect that thing, like the label or whatever, than actually on your business. You'll get frustrated when it could all be taken care of. And a lot of business owners, in one of my previous businesses, I had a photography business, and many, many years ago, and I can tell you, I actually wrote a blog post about this very thing, because when you start out in a business, you want to do it all yourself. It's your baby. You want to do it all yourself. I don't know why, but we do. And maybe I'm just a control freak. But so instead of outsourcing, I had certain like quality expectations. So I was matting my own prints for clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I was spending a huge amount of time doing it because I wanted it perfect, right? And then I woke up and realised this is stupid. This is not the core part of my business. Why should I be spending all this time? It was actually costing me more in time. So I outsourced it to somebody who does that like 24/7 for their business.
Yeah.
So I do think that holding on to like the control can make small business owners shoot themselves in the foot. They make it harder than it has to be for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why so many businesses fail or don't continue because of that overwhelm and the need
They get
for...
overwhelmed. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They get
overwhelmed.
They just, yeah. And it's too much. Everything's too much because, especially if you're a solo candle maker and you're making, you're doing everything. You're doing the marketing, you're doing the sales, you're doing the ordering, you're doing everything. So it gets too much, especially if it's something that you're not naturally good at.
Yes. And it
depends how much
time.
If you've got time to learn like how to, make a logo, learn Adobe Illustrator, then fine. But most small business owners won't have that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it's more about using the financial investment rather than a time investment. And it's weighing up what's more important to you, what's going to work better for your business.
Yeah. And each business is different. So.
Oh, absolutely. The many candle makers I've spoken to, we all have a common goal in terms of what we want to achieve, but the pathway to get there is so different for each person because, as you say, we all come with different skill sets, knowledge and experience, and the path to get to where we're going is going to be different because we're all different people.
Yeah, and your goals hopefully will be different. They won't all be the same.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So what role does storytelling play in creating a compelling brand? What are some tips that we can use to weave into our messaging?
It's probably one of the most important things, especially with candle making. Well, with any business really. And research in psychology, I told you I was a nerd. And I did do psychology, and it's shown that people remember stories 20 times better than pure facts.
Mm.
So if you tell me everything that's in your candle that you've made, I'm not that likely to remember it. But if you tell me a story about the reason why you made the candle, the story behind why you wanted to make it, or the processes or the special thing, materials that you use, I'm more likely to remember it. Yes. So you're more likely to be more relatable and keep that attention.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And I guess for candle makers, there's sort of two ways that you could use storytelling, because people, there's a common saying that goes, people buy the why rather than the what of a product or service. So if you can communicate and tell your story about how your candle making business came about and connect it to emotions or values, then you can create, I would say, a deeper connection with your potential customers.
Yes, it's not just, as you said earlier, take a picture of a candle and say, this candle's for sale. It has these top notes, middle notes, and base notes, and you should buy it because it's the best. You really need to connect in with the emotions of your potential customer to establish that connection between you two.
Yeah, and the second way I'd say that you can use storytelling is actually through your branding. So it's through your marketing materials, whether that's physical, wrapping, or the container, or whether it's how you use the storytelling on your social media channels. So you can use packaging, your branding to also create an emotional connection. And if you use it consistently, people remember it and see it over and over again.
Yes.
So instead of like listing features, you know, even in your copy, you can say, you can show how your candles have brought joy, relaxation, or the impact that those candles have had in people's lives. So you're talking about the benefits and the emotional connection rather than, as you say, top note, middle note, bergamot, vanilla.
Yes. Yeah. It's so much deeper to promote your products in a way that the customers and potential customers can connect in with you as the candle maker. And that might mean showing your face on social media. That might mean sharing a personal story or antidote. I can't say that word.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wanting to share more about yourself, but still make the focus on the customer.
Yeah, that's right. Like I saw one was a candle maker a few years ago, and her whole reason that she started it was because her grandmother died, and her grandmother was like hugely into candles. So it was a way of her keeping that alive. So like a lot of people thought, oh, that's so nice. That's, you know, a good, you know, reason, and people connected with her. She had like heaps of followers that sort of like her story resonated with people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the power of storytelling, not just I'm going to tell this story so that I have an angle so that I get a sale. It's authentic.
No, it's got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to be an authentic, real story.
Yes. And that takes self-reflection.
Yes. And it takes, but which you should have done.
At the start, yes.
At the start, yeah. I'm very big on that.
I feel like so many of the candle makers I've spoken to, or the business owners I've spoken to, they're so full of excitement and anticipation and joy for the future that they steamroll ahead to getting things in place without having the foundations in place, which is so important to know that you've got, a solid foundation that you're building your business on. And doing that self-reflection, the journaling, the time it takes to really understand your why and what your mission is crucial, but it can be quite confronting for some people because they don't necessarily want to be in their thoughts that much and uncover the real reasons why they're doing what they're doing.
Exactly. I think 90% of my blog posts are about doing the foundation work because if you jump ahead, you're jumping ahead, you're trying to do all these things and you're missing, like, it's like building a house. If you don't have a solid foundation, you're going to come back, there's going to be cracks, there's going to be all sorts of things that you then have to work on. It's better to do it at the start because as soon as you know who you are and where you're going, all your marketing, everything else hinges around that.
Yeah.
So I am very big on that.
No, I love that. I love your passion, and because it's so important to have those foundations in place because otherwise what are you building your business on?
Yeah, but also, as you said, and this is what I find with a lot of small businesses, not just candle makers, that they don't like to do the work. They don't like to do that work because it's way more exciting to start formulating a new candle scent than saying, okay, who are my target audience? What do they want? What are their pain points? And, you know, how do I address all these things? Then actually,
adding fragrances to your cart and then buying more jars and buying more things because it's more fun, it's more sexy, it's more exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
But you need to do the groundwork, not only for the business side, but also your own personal development.
Your own mental health as well. Like, I'm telling you, and I tell people the same thing over and over again. If you've got a strategy, if you know who you are as a business and you know where you're going and you have a plan for showing everyone where you're going and what you're doing and what you're about, everything is a lot easier.
Yes.
The decisions that you make, you know, on everything, it comes back to that foundational work.
Yes, 100% yes.
Yeah.
It's true. It's
So
just,
do it, people. Please
yes,
do it.
yes, I agree. I can't even tell you, and I'm sure you're the same, Maree, like the amount of people that have messaged me asking questions that are 10 steps ahead of
Yes.
where they really need to begin. And you think, okay, let's just take a breath. Let's go back. Let's just
Yes.
take a step
Yes.
back. Let's work on what's really important for your business. Because if you want to be in business for the long term, you can't rush ahead to all the shiny objects. You have to
Exactly.
do the groundwork. So yeah, I totally
Exactly.
agree. Yeah.
Exactly. I like that you keep saying shiny objects, because I actually did a blog post about the lure of the shiny object.
It's true. Like it's a perfect description for what they are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, this will solve all my problems. I'm not getting enough followers. They see an ad. Oh, I'll go get this app.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
it's
you
not
waste so
about
much
that app.
time. It's really not. You've just got to do, you've just got to
work.
be in the trenches, do the work, one foot after the other, and put your blinders on and just know that if you are doing the work, you will get to where you're going, as long as you know where you want to go, which is part of the foundation work. Yeah.
Exactly.
When you start your candle business, there are so many things to consider and research along the way, especially when it comes to choosing the right suppliers. Long Story Short provides all your design and printing needs, from your logo and branding to designing and printing your product labels. The quality is exceptional, the customer service is amazing, and prices are very reasonable. They're the only label company I recommend, so check out their website or send them an email today to get started. hello@longstoryshortdesign.com.au.
How would you say a candle maker could increase their sales using online platforms such as social media?
Social media is fantastic because it's very visual. It's not so good for candle makers in that candles are quite sensory things. So we don't have smell-o-vision yet.
Yeah, true.
So but you can still use social media to widen your audience, and you can describe those things about the candle, the sensory things, so that people get a mental picture of it. And that is sort of a challenge that they face, because candle makers need to be able to set the scene. I don't care if you put a candle up there and say new lavender and bergamot, so what?
Yeah.
I don't really care. Everyone's doing that.
Yes.
Yeah. So you need to really be different. And that's one of the problems I see is that small business owners, especially when they're starting out, they'll look at all the other candle makers, they'll see what they're doing on Instagram, and then they'll do the exact same thing. But in terms of your question, I went off on a tangent. Social media will give increased visibility. It is very cost effective. It does allow you to get brand awareness quickly, as long as you know your brand inside out. And you do get instant feedback. So for things like, you can ask your users, what do you think of this combination? Do you like this container? So you do get instant feedback. And if you went down the paid advertising route, then you can target your advertising to specific types of people.
Yes, as long, again, as you know who it is that you want to target.
Exactly.
It's not just, I'm targeting male and females between 18 and 65. It needs to be a little bit more narrow than that. You need to really know who your person is.
Exactly. That's the thing I get all the time. I ask clients, okay, who your target audience is? And they go, everybody. I don't care. I just want everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
It's not a target audience.
Yeah.
Unless you're Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on automating social media?
I'm actually wrote a blog post on this not long ago.
I know. I read it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I do believe that automation is a good thing, but not the only thing. Yeah. So you can't a lot of people say, okay, just set this, forget it. But you can't forget it because it's social media, so you still need to actually engage with people,
yes,
answer questions, people that have responded to your posts. So it depends on the business too. But what I like to do is, like, I will schedule 30 minutes or more, depending, and just spend that time creating content, scheduling content for the next, say, 2 or 3 weeks. Depends on the business. So it is a good time saver because while that's all scheduled, you spend the time doing it in one block rather than I've got to post because I haven't posted today, and then like you're doing it at midnight because you feel like you have to post because everyone says post consistently.
yeah.
And scheduling is a way to do that consistently. And one of the things is, I don't want to buy a scheduler. You don't have to. Most of the social media platforms have their own scheduling systems. So I do think it's a time saver for people to do it. But, you still sprinkle in your own posts, real-time posts, but it just blocks out that time to do that. And, like, it is a massive time saver for especially solo businesses.
Yes, particularly if you still work full-time or if you've got young children and your time's strapped and you can't always be on your phone at the same time each day to post at the same time. You don't want to become a slave to your device. You want to operate your business more professionally and more effectively, and that means utilizing automation and AI and technology and learning enough about those things so that you can then implement, not to go down the path of I'm going to research this for weeks and weeks and feel like I'm making progress in my business when I'm actually not.
When I'm not, yes.
Yeah, and wonder why, I haven't got any sales for the last few weeks. It's because you haven't actually been doing the work. You've been in the background working on the business rather than in the business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on collaborations and in partnerships with other candle makers or complementary businesses?
Yeah, look, I often suggest this for small businesses in particular. But there's ways of going about it. You've got to, who you're trying to reach, what with your, say, for example, with your candles, what are their interests and needs? So back to the target market again. Yeah. So once you've identified and you know that very well, you can then use that to identify potential businesses that would appeal to your same target market, but that you're not in competition with. And you also need to look for businesses that align with your values so that it's a good fit for both of you. And don't just DM them like straight off the bat. Get to know their business first so that you know what they're about as well, because you want to make it a partnership. So, and you want to know what they could potentially get out of it and what you could potentially get out of it, so that you know what each can bring to each other.
Yeah.
And then you can brainstorm ideas together and rather than, sometimes some business will put forward a proposal to the other business, and I've seen that happen, and the other business is not on the same page. So just make sure before you start it that everything aligns together and that the workload in terms of what you do, like it could be for a yoga studio, for example, you supply the candles for the yoga studio. The yoga studio gives their customers a percentage off your candles or whatever.
Yeah, it needs to be mutually beneficial.
They've both got to be getting something out of it. Whether that, and I guess that sort of goes back to, okay, work out why you want the partnership. Is it to get more sales? Is it to just increase your brand awareness, to get a wider audience? Why do you want the partnership?
Knowing your,
because it's not always straight for sales. Sometimes you're just trying to get your brand, depending where you are, in the stage of your business. It might just be you want to expose your brand to more people.
And that's why doing wholesale can be really important as well, because it opens you up to new customers that you wouldn't necessarily have access to. But I can't even tell you the amount of candle makers that have said they just don't want to do that. Like, they just close off an avenue of potential income
That's interesting.
For a variety of reasons.
That's really interesting.
Many people I've spoken to want to do just online. They just want to sell online. They just want to sell through their website. They don't want to do markets. They don't want to do wholesale. And I think you're not even giving it a chance to see whether it actually will work for you in your business.
Exactly.
My advice is always, go to a few markets, make sure you're actually experiencing what it's like. Make sure you go into your local cafe, present yourself, present your business.
Yeah.
Actually give it a try. I know it's scary and I know that it can be confronting, but that's all part of the personal growth that comes with having a business. You can't have one without the other. And it's important to try as many different avenues as possible to build your business, to see what actually works and to see what feels in alignment with you, rather than being too close-minded.
Yeah. You can't. Yeah. Yeah. It's a mistake to just like be so narrow-eyed that you can't. I mean, that comes back to like when I said before about when you're starting or you're transitioning, you need to research what's out there, what other candle makers are there, what types of things do they do, how do they operate, where could my candle making business fit into that? Where could I be different? And so you've got to be open to all marketing strategies.
Yes.
So when you say, they just want to be online, then if that's the choice, then they've got to realise, okay, you're limiting yourself in that way. So what else can I do? If I'm just going to go down this path, there's certain restrictions that come with that. If they're happy with those restrictions, fine. Yeah. But as you say, they're limiting themselves. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying before about being adaptable and adjusting things.
Yes.
That don't work. So it's fine to try a strategy. It's just like, don't try them all at once. Don't try every single strategy under the sun. Pick a couple. Just say, okay, I will try markets. I'll go out of my comfort zone. I'll try market. And you will learn something no matter what you do. And then you reassess it and say, okay, no, this doesn't really align with my brand or my values or whatever it is. But, yeah, it's good to try other things.
Yes, it's good to see, did you say push yourself out of your comfort zone, try new things, see what works, adjust, assess, and then for yourself and your business that you've actually done your due diligence and tried different methods. It's not just about doing just one thing and hoping for the best.
Exactly. If you do the same thing over and over again, you'll always get what you've got.
Exactly. The definition of insanity.
If you don't change something, nothing's going to change. So you can't complain about it.
Yes. Maree, we've come to one of my favourite parts of the podcast, where I ask all my guests 3 questions relating to candles, funnily enough. So number 1, what is your favourite candle fragrance?
I have a thing for lavender.
Yeah?
Yeah, lavender. Yeah. And there is another candle that I have. I have got no idea what the fragrance is, but I just like it because it reminds me of a smell that was in my grandmother's house.
Oh, I love that. It's so nice.
But I don't know what it is, and I keep sniffing this candle, trying to work out what's in it.
Yeah.
But generally, I love lavender.
Lavender, perfect.
Yeah.
Number 2, what do you love about candles?
They are very calming. I used to run a yoga studio, so
nice.
Yeah. So they're very calming. You've got the scent and the flame, and for some reason the flame is I just like the ambience they create. Yes. I guess. Yeah.
Yes. And then the last question is, what is one piece of advice you'd like to give to candle makers?
Please do not be like everyone else. You're in a saturated market. Honestly, I dealt with a candle maker. We had a candle maker. We only deal with one type of client at a time because I don't believe in pitting one type, industry type against each other. So, and they were finding their way. They were trying to find their way. And I would say, and this was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I would say the market is even more saturated now than it was then. And people just, like, as you said before, people have really, like, short attention spans. So you either need to have a really amazing point of difference or a very strong brand, hopefully all these things.
Yeah.
But I do see a lot of candle makers that are, they all look the same. They all look the same. So do I stop? No, I don't stop.
Yeah.
So, there's only one candle maker that I did stop for, which was Every Word. And they have a thing, they're not paying me to say this. They don't even know I'm following them. But they have a point of difference. They barely talk about scent. They have a thing where you can create a personal message. So the candle burns and then slowly a message is revealed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's really personal and you can create your own custom messages.
Yeah. How fascinating.
Yes. So please just don't be like anyone else.
Yeah.
And I have seen like two sort of schools, not schools, two types of candle makers. On the one hand, you've got very atmospheric, soft, self-care type candle makers. And then I don't know when this started, but you probably will. There's also the swearing candle jar.
Yes.
The more modern, the more like
in your face.
Yeah, in your face, sort of like almost angry, like I don't want to swear on your podcast, but I have seen, the types of candles I'm talking about. Yeah. So just don't be like anyone else.
Yeah, just find your point of difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't be like anyone else on your social media either. Don't think that you've got to have this perfectly curated grid. Like, just be yourself and project who you are as a brand. You don't have to be worrying about a lot of people when they start out are looking at what everyone else is doing. Oh, they've got X number of followers, then I'll do that.
Yeah.
And that's not the way to go.
No. You need to be authentic and stand in your own light, and people will become attracted and magnetized to you if you're doing
exactly
what's in
the
alignment
right people
with you.
will come to you if you know who you are and you're showing who you are properly. Yeah,
that's beautiful. Well, Maree, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I so appreciate your time, your wisdom, your knowledge, your expertise when it comes to branding and growing a candle business or growing product-based businesses. For the listeners that would love to get in touch with you, where can we find you online?
Okay, well, thank you for having me, first off.
You're welcome.
It's been fun. I haven't done a podcast for a long time. Okay, so you can find me at www.rawmarrow.com. And I'm everywhere on social media, everywhere. So, we have some free resources that you can download from our website. We're pretty open and friendly. There's no obligation to buy anything from us, but we're there if anyone's interested.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And as I said, I'll pop your links in the show notes, so if anyone wants to get in touch with you, they certainly can.
Yep, thank you.
Amazing. Thanks.
Thanks everyone for listening today. I hope this episode added value to your candle making journey. Check out the show notes for all the links mentioned throughout today's show, and please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks again for listening. Have a beautiful day.